before we start our next unit on similarity, we do need to do just a little bit of review, I hope it's review, of these ideas here, rates, ratios, and proportions. Something we've definitely covered before, maybe not in this class, but in other classes, definitely in algebra classes, definitely in middle school. But just to knock the rust off it, and maybe introduce how some of the Honors Algebra 1 ideas from last year might come into play. So we've got some images here. We've got kittens and chainsaws, and we've got 5 kittens and 3 chainsaws. So what we can do with those images is we can form a ratio, which is a comparison of two quantities using division, right? And I think that's the one that most people hopefully will remember. A couple different ways we could express this, right? We can express this 3 different ways. We can actually write out kittens to chainsaws. Right? We can actually write the words with 2 in there. We can write it as a rational number. We can write it as kittens over chainsaws. Or we can write it as kittens with the colon here. You see that a lot when you are dealing with chainsaws. Anyway, you get the point. Right? So you can write it with the word 2 as a rational number, or as with a colon in between. You could also flip-flop. So the ratio of kittens to chainsaws would be 5 to 3, right? Or 5 over 3, or 5 to 3. You can also express 3 different things here. It's not always necessarily part to whole. You could, when we do, if we could do 5 kittens to 8 total things, we could do 3 chainsaws to 8 total things, or we could do what we've already done, which is 5 kittens to 3 chainsaws. So it can either be part to part or part to whole. And again, you flip the order, and if you said chainsaws to, for this last one in particular, chainsaws to kittens, it would be 3 over 5 and not 5 over 3. So how you say it determines what goes first, either on the top or on the left, when you name these things. So that's what a ratio is. A rate is a ratio that compares quantities with different units. When we're talking about going to the supermarket and buying 3 pounds of turkey and it cost us $17.97, right? That is a ratio, because this is money and this is weight. So we've got 3 different units. And this isn't going to come up tons in this class, but every so often it might. But so I just want to talk about it just very briefly. A unit rate is a rate with a second quantity of 1. We deal with these all the time. We don't care when we go to the store. We're not going to try to figure out what 3 pounds of turkey is. We're going to look at the price, and they're going to say, oh, it's $5.99 a pound, which these days is actually a pretty good deal. Or when we're talking about how fast the posted speed limit is, that's a unit rate, 30 miles per every 1 hour. Or fuel efficiency, 25 miles per gallon. All of those are rates, and they're all unit rates because they're compared to that denominator, if you will, of 1. And it's probably the most helpful in our day-to-day understanding of cost or speed or fuel efficiency or whatever. But more often than not, we don't deal with unit rates in this class as much as we might in, say, an algebra class. And then where this is going to come in most handy is proportion. A proportion is a statement that 2 ratios are equal. A really, really simple one here is 1/2 is equal to 4/8, or 5/10, or 3/6, or whatever. There's an infinite number of ways I could have written that proportion. And the important thing to remember about proportions is that when you multiply the cross products, we're going to see that 1 times 8 is going to equal 2 times 4. So when we have a proportion, the cross products are equal. You can probably see where this is going. It's not like we're going to say, is it a proportion or not? We're going to use that information to solve for an unknown. So if a team's ratio, there should be a team's ratio of wins to losses is 3-2, and they have 24 wins in a season, how many losses do they have? Well, that means they've got, fortunately for the team, they've got more wins than losses. And so that would allow us to set up the proportion of 3-2 wins to losses, right? And we know they have 24 wins over here, so we're looking for the number of losses. And that allows us, knowing that the cross products are equal, the little crisscross applesauce. And there's a couple ways you can look at this. We can say 3 times x is equal to 2 times 24, or 48. And you can know that, not that you would need the math to know this, but you could figure out that the team has 16 losses, right? Or you could also say that x is equal to just 24 times 2 all over 3. Right. Sometimes some people come in with this idea of I think it's called they call it the picnic table method. 2 times 24 divided by 3 equals x. Right. Those are supposed to be arrows. And there you have it. And it'll give you the answer of 16. Right. They can get a little bit more involved, but it's still ultimately the same thing. If we said that 10x minus 55, right, when we multiply 2x minus 11 times 5, and then compare that to 7x plus 14, okay, that's going to be 3x plus 69. 3x equals 69. If we subtract 7x from both sides, add 55, x is going to equal 23. Sorry. Now this is where, but it's still ultimately the same thing. It's still ultimately that we're finding the cross products. The fact that those cross products involve expressions, not the end of the world. And you need to be prepared for this, right? When we're talking about this type here, we're saying, okay, well, 2x times x plus 1 equals 24. Right? And then, well, I'm going to kind of see where this is going here. I'm going to divide everything here by 2. Just to get rid of that 2. So that's really going to be x times x plus 1 equals 12. Ooh, here we go. X squared plus x minus 12 is equal to 0. Okay. We're coming back to factoring here. We're factoring a trinomial. We did this in Honors Algebra 1. I'm certain of it. If we're going to factor that, we're going to say that we know they're both x's up front because that's x squared. We know that 1 is addition, 1 is subtraction because this is the second operation is subtraction. And I need to know that the bigger one is positive and the smaller one is negative because my middle term is positive. So our answers here are x is -4 or x is 3. So that's just a brief review on ratios, rates, and proportions. We're going to need this a lot, especially our proportion work as we proceed with similar figures, similar triangles in particular. But hopefully this is a good review. If you haven't, we're going to have plenty of time to practice that in class after this lecture. So please let me know if you have any questions. I hope this helped.